The majority rule concept embedded within democracy is yet another divide and conquer tactic. We deserve a society that is driven by the natural talents of its people, and the minority rule system is a self-correcting solution. Hello, and welcome back to Antidote 2023. In the last episode, we talked about how our current system is too complicated, commercialized, both, and that it could do with a bit more balance. In this episode, I am finally going to explain what the heck I mean when I mention the minority rule system. So, this may seem a tad bit unoriginal, okay, but Mr. Tellinger explains it far better than I could. So, I'm going to read an excerpt from the book, okay, from the UBUNTU Contributionism book, and afterwards, I'll offer my personal take on this concept of minority rule. Actually, I'll offer a take on both. Alright, so, it won't be long, but let's get started. 5-point mantra. That's where we're going to start. Page 112, if you have the book, follow along. Okay. To find the answers we need to To find the answers, we need to repeat the 5 fundamental aspects of contributionism, which are no money, no barter, no trade, no value attached to anything which makes it more valuable than anything else, because all of our contributions have to be respected and accepted as equally valuable. Everyone contributes their natural talents or acquired skills for the greater benefit of all in their community. And this is not utopia. It is the natural order of things that cannot be corrupted or exploited by money. I call it a self-correcting system because all the decisions are made by the people through their council of elders. And if you are unfamiliar with the council of elders and you don't have the book, I recommend getting the book because it goes much more into depth in the book than I have. Or you can go look at my older video that I will put up here and go check that out. Who make the final call on the implementation of the will of the people on a daily basis. Nobody in this cycle can be corrupted or bribed by money because money does not exist. Everything is implemented for the benefit of the people and the community, not for the benefit of individuals at the expense of others. So if something is implemented and for some reason turns out to be detrimental to some of the community, it can be corrected immediately, within hours, days, or weeks, by the people and the council of elders. Now, minority rule, unite and prosper. When I mentioned that we need to try a whole new system that has never been tried before, I meant just that. Ubuntu philosophy embraces a principle of minority rule. As alien as this may sound to most of us at first encounter, it will become clear how we have been conditioned to blindly believe that democracy and majority rule is the best and only way to live our lives. Although the term minority rule does not really describe the system correctly and is not simply the opposite of majority rule, it is a good way for our minds to snap out of the state that many of us have been stuck in. The expression itself activates more of a right brain function of creativity and will force us to think differently about how we should work together for the benefit of all. The way that democracy has been shoved down our throats is nothing more than a bullying tactic, which suggests that if there are 51 of us and only 49 of them, we will have it our way and screw the 49 that completely disagree with us and want to have things done a different way. Minority rule feeds into the philosophy of cooperation and unity rather than competition and division. It allows the community to benefit from a multitude of options in the Ubuntu Contributionism model because money does not restrict a multitude of options or possibilities to coexist for the benefit of all. We don't only have to have two options, or a right and a wrong. We can have many solutions that can all be implemented because money is no longer the hurdle to anything we propose as the people. The democracy majority rule model that has been shoved down our throats is just a cleverly disguised tool of control that pits people against each other, divide and conquer, instead of unite and prosper. Once we realize this, it becomes very easy to recognize the obvious options that we have been denied. The current system keeps the power in the hands of those who call the shots under the illusion that the voters have had their say, and from that moment on we are stuck with the option that we voted for. The minorities and small interest groups that have to take their gripes and proposals to those who won the majority, and we all know what happens to minority groups and their needs. Democracy is not a sustainable model and does not serve all the people fairly. It is a system that subtly promotes a divide-and-conquer philosophy. The Ubuntu model provides for all the needs of all the people and allows the implementation of many ideas, options, and choices that the people propose. Since there is no need for money to get things done, everything will be done, as long as it does not cause harm to any sector of the community. The Council's task is to look out for the best interest of the whole community as well as the people in the community. The more you work through this process, the more obvious it will become that minority rule is an infinitely more conscious way to create abundance, but it is completely alien in a society that functions without money. Let's get back to those burning questions that everyone raises when first confronted with this new philosophy. To start finding the simple answers for the initial questions, I looked at a long list of government departments and formulated a simple solutions for each one of those sectors, imagining how it will function in a community without money. A system that is driven by people, their talents and abilities, rather than money. A society that is driven by people, their talents and abilities, rather than money. I must admit that this was by far the most exhilarating part of my journey to embrace the new blueprint for an Ubuntu system. This is why I can truly say that I understand how people feel at precisely the moment they ask a specific question, because I remember exactly how I felt when I first grappled with the same questions. At first I really struggled to find the answers, and I thought that I would end up in a dead end, having to abandon this utopian dream. It took weeks, if not months, to find answers that resonated with what would be acceptable to everyone in any specific community, while keeping in mind the sentiments of individuals. And then the questions began to pile up, and very quickly I had a heap of unsolved riddles to resolve, trying to figure out how we can survive without money. But to my surprise, as the weeks rolled by and I allowed the questions to simply wash over me one by one, the answers began to appear. And once I had the answers to the first few critical sectors of society, and how these sectors will function in a world without money, it was like an avalanche of revelation had hit me. The more I resolved, the easier it became to solve the next level, because I suddenly had a set of references from previous questions that guided me towards more simple solutions. Several years have passed since I began this journey, and it took me at least 5 years to be brave enough to stand in front of a crowd to share the contributionism idea. The amazing thing is that the more I share it, the more people seem to understand it. It's as if we have all tapped into the collective consciousness or the quantum field of knowledge. This basically means that the newcomers can simply tap in and get the answers very quickly, if not immediately, from the collective consciousness or the field. Yes, okay. It doesn't really go much more into, the self-correcting system. Okay. I'm trying to get through this quickly, okay, because I have a lot more to talk about. But stay with me here, all right? I do believe that the Ubuntu Contributionism model provides simple solutions for all our needs. At this stage, I have proposed solutions to many sectors of society, but not all of them. As long as we have the cornerstones of the new social structure in place, the rest of the sectors will be restructured by each community itself in the most practical way so that it benefits the entire community. This is, after all, the simple structure of the Ubuntu Contributionism, or the Ubuntu Contribution System. People finding their own solutions for their own needs, not being dictated to by laws they did not agree to. It is so simple that most of us try to overcomplicate it by thinking that it is too simple. This is exactly what our problem has been. We cannot imagine that such a simple system could work, mainly because of the deeply convoluted system we have today. We have been led to believe that it must be complicated because our current system has taken thousands of years to construct with the intention to enslave people, with complex rules and regulations so that people cannot free themselves from it. A system that simply does not work for humanity anymore. A system that has been designed to destroy anything that threatens its own survival. I'm almost done. The Ubuntu contribution system is based on the laws of nature. It cannot be corrupted and it cannot fail from within, because it functions as a self-correcting system that always reverts back to provide solutions that are for the greatest benefit of the community. As you begin to explore the possibilities, you will find that the system always provides the solutions, and if I could find them, so can everyone else. Since my first public discussion on contributionism, I have heard thousands of arguments and excuses why this will not work and why it will fail, and what about this and what about that. Unfortunately, all of our current questions are asked from the perspective of the current system we are in, and the set of circumstances that determine how things function today are completely different to the set of circumstances that will shape our activity in the new system. In other words, we have to undergo a complete paradigm shift in our hearts and minds even before we ask the questions. It is very difficult to imagine a perfect world while being stuck in this one. So before you ask a question to which you expect a simple answer, first go through the set of circumstances that will prevail in the new system and ask yourself how it will affect the entire process and how it will impact on what it is you are asking about. Imagine how it will work in a world without money. Identify the things that will have an effect on what you are asking about and repeat the 5-point mantra that I discussed earlier. Because we all have the answers within us already, all we have to do is ask the questions and allow our humanness and our hearts to lead us to the answers. Okay, I don't really think that I need to read much more. I could. Okay. If you guys would like me to read more, just leave a comment down in the comment section and let me know if you would like me to read more of that book. I have no problem reading. I read to my son every night, so I'm totally used to reading. If you would like to purchase the book, which I recommend you do, if you'd like to make a bit more sense of what I'll be discussing on this channel, and simply just because it has a lot of information in it that I won't get around to covering for a while, there will be a link in the bottom of the description, per usual. I am getting a phone call. I am sorry. This always seems to happen at the worst moments. So before we get into it, let's take a look at the upcoming videos. All right. As always, this list is subject to change. Any information that I didn't cover in this video, I may cover in a future video, so stay tuned to find out more. Your comments will definitely help me decide which topics to talk about next. Coming up, the minority rule system is... Oh, sorry, I haven't done any editing to this, so we're on the minority rule system. So the next thing would be, is working together possible? Indoctrination versus education. Can we handle the transition? Taking the next steps, which is big. We talked about that in the last episode. And summarizing the basics, okay, where we're going to go over everything and hit on it again before we move on to bigger and better things, okay? Here are some phrases I'm sure you've probably heard before. So if you've ever heard somebody say, all in favor say aye, I'm sure you've heard that in a movie, right? Or in school, you've heard, everyone who would like to go outside, raise your hand, right? Or in elections, so-and-so is winning by this many votes, right? We've all heard these phrases. But have you ever stopped to consider how the decisions following these phrases and phrases like these affect the minority voters? The ones who don't raise their hands, right? The ones who don't say aye, who say nay instead. Well, if you've been a part of that minority in the past, I would like you to try to think back to how you felt, right? Or how it made you feel, especially if it was something that you were truly passionate about. You probably felt cheated, right? Or disregarded, or insignificant, or devalued, or invisible, right? Like your feelings or your logic didn't matter in any way. Well, that's a side effect of the majority rule system. Okay, those casting the popular vote get what they want, while those casting the unpopular vote usually have to swallow a hard pill. and go along with the dictates of the winning side. And to hell with how the minority might be affected by that decision. Well, we see how the minority has been affected in our current society. They've usually become victims, right? They're treated unfairly by the system, made to live in a way that they disagree with, or in a way that they oppose with every fiber of their being. Well, I'm one of them. I didn't choose to have to work most of my life so that I could only be happy every once in a while, or when I could afford it, when I could afford to be happy, or only be happy by pushing all of the financial struggles to the back of my mind so that I could enjoy some time by myself or with my family and have some fun before it all comes rushing back when I get an alert on my phone telling me bills are due, or when I get in my car and see that the gas tank is nearing empty. It's rough, and we were born into it. Nobody agreed to this. It was kind of all just forced onto us since we were children, and we haven't been given the proper tools to escape, so we feel like we're stuck and we just have to deal with it. But I'm here to tell you, just like many other people are here to tell you, that there is a way. In fact, there's a way around it. You don't even have to crush it. It'd be nice to just get rid of it and free ourselves from it. But there's a way to get around it for the people who are interested, right? And the solution can't just be to get rich. Okay? Even if you were to get rich, there are still people out there that are poor while you're getting rich. Poor and suffering, Even if you wanted to teach people how to get rich, one, you can't do it by charging people hundreds of dollars. That just makes the poor even poorer in order for them to increase their chances of becoming rich. And the ones who are too poor to afford what you're offering stay poor. So the only statement you're really making when you do that is, if you're just not poor enough to spend a couple $100 or $1,000 on a master class or workshop or whatever, then you'll help them, right? Or if you're flat broke, then screw you and your entire family would be the other hand. So all you're really doing at that point is trying to make yourself feel better for living in a nice house while other people are sleeping on benches and sidewalks. Because you haven't really done anything to put a stop to poverty. You haven't done anything to get people off the street. All you've done is perpetuate the division. It's like giving a cliff diver a parachute, right? You may have slowed their descent, but they're still falling, Or like giving a homeless guy a sandwich. You'll see people on YouTube trying to virtue signal by going out and feeding the poor or feeding the homeless. Yeah, now they won't be hungry for the next couple hours, but they're still homeless. So you didn't really fix the situation. All you did was make it better for a few hours, and that's it. Not that you shouldn't try, but there's things that you could be doing if you did a little more research and actually wanted to apply yourself to helping these people. There are things you could be doing. Two, the solution can't be to tax the rich. You can't just tax the rich because, one, you're encouraging taxation, which is theft, and you're sending the message to the government that the poor should be taxed as well, which is basically telling them that it's okay for them to steal from the poor. And two, you're not leveling the playing field by doing that. So there's not really any point to that. That's just, again, a way to make yourself feel better, like you're actually doing anything, but you're not actually doing anything. The solution also can't just be to offer resources to the poor. It does very little to actually prevent people from becoming poor. And some may say, oh, but if it wasn't for food stamps, if it wasn't for the government, my kids and I would have starved a long time ago. Well, while that may be true, that's what the government wants. They want you dependent on them. They're not helping you, they're helping themselves by doing that. How many times have you run out of food stamps before the end of the month, right? And you and your kids go without for a couple of weeks. Or you had to go without the whole month so that you could stretch the EBT so it would last you till the end of the month, you know? So what are the resources really doing? Are they prolonging the inevitable? You know, creating this illusion that the government actually cares about you, because it really doesn't. And it definitely isn't putting a stop to the problem. I'm not trying to dog on anybody. I know this has been pretty negative so far, but I'm not trying to roast anyone here. I've been in these situations. I've been just shy of homelessness, you know? So when I speak of these struggles, I'm speaking from experience. I've had to deal with all of these things. I've had to use EBT. I've had to rely on the government. It's not fun, and it's extremely demeaning. And they don't actually offer any way out, because they want that. They want you reliant on them. The solution can't just be to build shelters for the homeless either, okay? Because we've all seen how that works out. The shelters get filled up really quick, and then they can't accept any more people, and then there are still homeless people that, you know, members of society that are without a home and with nowhere to go. So that doesn't really help. And why is that? Because people are becoming homeless faster than help is being made available to them. And that's because it costs money to build shelters and keep them running and operational. So yet another example of how money gets in the way of true progress and gets in the way of helping one another in ways that truly make a difference. And the solution can't just be to vote either, because one, your vote doesn't matter. The government has been calling the shots they want to call for decades, okay, regardless of how you feel about it. And that's why you know who is in office. And the other guy, the blonde you know who, Mr. Dementia's opposition, was such a big deal because he managed to somehow slip in against their wishes. At least that's what the majority of his followers seem to think. You know, I personally haven't heard the guy propose anything that puts a permanent stop to homelessness, or that rids us of the injustice of the class system, or that ensures the basic needs of every human being on this planet are met. I haven't heard him mention the Venus Project, Ubuntu, or ending the struggles we face by eradicating the true cause of the problem, which is money. So who's to say he isn't yet another in fact, I've heard him talk quite encouragingly about money, right? So who's to say he isn't yet another pawn perpetuating the capitalist system? The people in control don't care who you vote for. That person could even be promising to drain the swamp, right? But as long as the person you're voting for is still encouraging the use of their system, and as long as we keep using their system, we keep using money in capitalism, they still control us. So, two, it's still a majority rule system. Even if your vote were to count, which it doesn't, the minority will always lose. And therefore, there will always be a percentage of society that is being forced into situations against their will. There will always be crime that arises out of desperation, you know, and there will always be poverty and homelessness and the threat thereof that feeds the desperation, and so there will always be injustice. But that's where the minority rule system comes into play, right? If you get rid of money, then there's nothing stopping us from trying everything, right? From doing everything we can to meet the needs of the people. Every solution proposed can be tried at that point. If the solution fails, we just try a new one until we get it right, until there is no more minority, because everyone's happy, right? So this will require a new voting system, in my opinion, and I have a few ideas about that, so you can let me know in the comments if you want to hear about those ideas, and also let me know in the comments if you have any ideas of your own, and if I like your ideas enough, your name might just appear in one of my videos. You know, I'll give you a shout out. I'm not super popular, so that might not be doing much for you, but I will. You can see how the system would correct itself, though, right? If there was a disagreement about how things would operate, or there were a group of individuals that were unhappy with the way a sector behaved, or the goals of leaders within the community, or even something as small as changing the color of a fountain in like a town square or community, or like a communal sector or something, we would just simply try things a different way. And if problems continue to arise, we just keep doing that until we reach a conclusion everyone agrees with. And not 2 to 4 years later, after the problem has escalated and people are pissed off, we do it right away to avoid escalation, to avoid people getting pissed off. And we would just keep trying new things, you know? And none of this is set in stone. Even if you read the book, you know, many times in the book, Michael will reiterate the fact that things, what he's discussing, what I'm talking to you about, isn't a set in stone structure that has to be followed if we choose to adopt contributionism. You know, I'm not saying that it's precisely how things will work, and that people have no choice to do it that way if we try it. But I mean, obviously, I'm fighting for your free will here from what I've been telling you, and I want everyone's options or opinions to be considered as valuable. Just keep in mind that things could look completely different depending on the demographic and the collective creative ambition of each community. For example, the technology sector of one community could utilize high-speed suspended train systems to traverse their community, while the technology sector of another community may utilize anti-gravitic vehicles or teleportation technology. You know, you never know. Or an entire community, or even every community, may decide to utilize anti-gravity for travel. I mean, when you remove money, not even the sky is the limit. You know, anything is possible. So I hope I've done a good job of explaining what the minority rule system would be. You know, it's not exactly the opposite of a majority rule system, but it's pretty close. And yeah, if I was confusing, let me know though. Okay, let me know what you think about the minority rule system in the comments, because that's all the time I have for today. So I'm gonna have to hop off. But I'd be happy to answer any questions you have about it to the best of my ability. Anything that I can't answer, I'll do my best to offer you some resources that may provide the answers you're looking for. Leave a like and subscribe. Hit the bell to stay notified of upcoming videos. And just a reminder, if you're interested in buying the Ubuntu Contributionism book that I was just reading, there will be a link in the description as usual. Okay, I usually put one down there. Also, there will be links to other related sources like the website for the Venus Project, and also the website for the Ubuntu Contributionism framework that you can go into. And there's videos, YouTube videos you can watch explaining other things. There's other information there. They've actually started doing this. I'm not just talking to you about this because I want it to get started and I want people to start doing it. They've started doing it. Pretty sure it was in Lebanon. They did a little bit of a project in Canada, Frontenac, Canada, and but it seems like it's really taking off in the east, in Lebanon and places around there. So yeah, this is already happening. So definitely get involved. Learn about it so you can help out in any way that you can if you're interested in helping out. And like I said, that website link will take you to resources that will help you get involved. Yes. Yeah, don't forget to check the description after every video, because I'll sometimes post other links to other things in there too. So just pay attention to that. Until next time, educate yourself on the different ways that that you can heal yourself, heal your family, and heal society, you know. And if you can, share that knowledge with anyone who's willing to listen to you, because it will be of the utmost importance that we bring our A game to this movement. All right, and that means being healthy. That means being healthy in your mind, being healthy in your body, and being healthy in your actions. Okay, just being healthy all around. It makes you a powerful force. All right, have a great day, and ci vediamo.